Good morning, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English. This is Indian Express analysis, which goes live every day at 11 a.m. Now, there has been a one change from next week onwards, that is from 22nd of September. Instead of 11 a.m., we'll go live every day now at 2 p.m., right? And this would be from coming Monday, that is 22nd of September. So, we'll meet each other at new time now, that is 2 p.m. So let us start our today's discussion of 20th of September with this first article, which is on Chabahar port. Any idea why are we discussing Chabahar port today? Because United States of America, it gave certain exceptions to its sanctions regime on Iran so that India could continue developing the Chabahar port. And the reason why earlier US had given us exemption was that Chabahar port is needed directly to ensure trade that happens through Afghanistan as well as Central Asian republics, bypassing entirely the country of Pakistan. But now, since the relationship between US and Iran has soured, so that is why they have revoked this sanction, which earlier revoked this exemption to the sanction that it had given to India. So that is why we will discuss Chabahar port. Why is Chabahar port so important for India? Where it is located? And what implication does this removal of exception for India has on the geopolitics and economic impact on India? That will cover. Now, this is an article relevant from economy perspective as well as from IR perspective. So, these are the subjects that we are going to deal with in the first article. In the second article, we'll cover a United Nations Security Council 1267 sanctions regime. How many of you have heard that few years back there was this big development that India got Masood Azhar registered as a designated terrorist under some sanctions regime, right? So this was this sanction regime, United Nations 1267 resolution. Now, right now, Pakistan has gone to United Nations wanting to enlist Balochistan Liberation Army, which is a radical outfit, separatist outfit in Pakistan, demanding independence of Balochistan province. So Pakistan has gone to this committee asking them to enlist or list the BLA as a designated terror group. But many countries, including US, UK and France, they've put this request of Pakistan on hold under technical grounds. So why is Balochistan a big issue in Pakistan? What is United Nations 1267 sanction regime? How countries can be listed on, how can organizations and individuals be listed on it? What is the procedure? Everything we are going to cover in our today's discussion. Now, this is an article solely related to international relations, so this is the important subject. In the third article, we'll cover Global Innovation Index of 2025. There are some points that you need to know, but overall, whenever a question comes on index in UPSC, mostly they have been on the which organization does it publish the index, right? So we'll get into some details so that important facts can't be overlooked, and in case if certain facts are asked in the exam, you should be in a position to answer it, right? So we'll cover this. This is an article relevant from science and tech perspective. Then we'll move on to upgrading of army radars. Now, Operation Sindoor, it led to significant beating of Pakistan, that we all know. But during Operation Sindoor, we witnessed that Pakistani army and its armed forces, they relied heavily on using drones to conduct attacks on Indian installation. Now, naturally, drone has emerged as a new source of warfare in addition to planes that were existed before. Now, Air Force's army, they have different kind of radars to track any incoming enemy plane. But tracking of drones require special expertise, require different kind of radars. So army has now become aware that this is a future requirement, and therefore they are going to upgrade its existing radars. So why is army upgrading its existing radar? What are radars after all? What kind of different radars are used by defense forces? That will cover in our today's discussion, and this is also relevant from science and tech perspective. And in the last article, we are going to cover European Union's new strategy document, which is a strategy. It wants to have a better relations with India, not just in the domain of economy and trade, but also in the domain of defense. Now, this new strategy document from European Union, it comes at a time where world is in a state of flux. Countries, including European Union and India, they are wary of the fact that they can't solely depend on US. Similarly, these countries for long have been facing challenges from emerging countries like China. So in that perspective, the relationship between European Union and India stands to benefit, and how it stands to benefit, that we'll figure out in the new strategy document discussion. Now, this is an article relevant also from economy perspective, but broadly on a much broader level, it is important from IR perspective. So you can see most of the questions or most of the articles that we are covering today are dominated by IR and science and tech, right? Which is somewhat a rarity. Now, the notes of this session, as usual, you know, this will be available on Telegram channel known as ATS Live. So you can go to this Telegram channel, download the notes, and also the ones who haven't subscribed it yet, please do go ahead and subscribe it. Now, good morning, everyone. Let me see who all have come. Benzir Mahmim, good morning. Pali Kevat, good morning. Gagan, Amar, hi. Gagan, good morning. Yashi, I'm good. Yashi, how are you doing? Baga, good morning. Kanchan, good morning. Arya, Savaria Dhakar, good morning. Santana, good morning. Pakistan naming BLA a terror outfit is hilarious and ironic. What's more ironic? I will tell you, no need to worry, Baga. Just stay, you'll enjoy this session. Okay. Now, let us start with our today's discussion with this first article. US has decided to revoke waiver on sanctions for Chabahar port. So, from this news article or from this news headline, what you can think of is important from the exams perspective. Any idea? Tell me what can you take out from this article that would make it important from UPSC perspective. I also want to inculcate a habit of you deciding yourself what is important, right? That is also very important. How long will you depend on a teacher, right? It's better for me to teach you how to fish rather than giving you fish every day, because if I give you fish, you eat only once. But if you yourself know how to catch a fish, don't you think you'll be eating every day of your life, provided all of you eat fish? Now students, tell me इसमें से क्या important है from this headline? Okay, Baga says India Middle East Europe corridor. Is INSTC or is Chabahar port the part of India Middle East Europe corridor? Now, what is important from this article is the implication of this move, that US deciding to revoke the waiver on sanctions, and what and where is Chabahar port. That is important from this article. Okay, so this we'll figure out in our today's discussion. Yes, location, boundaries, changing geopolitics between India and US relations. Yes, but this development can be seen more with respect to changing geopolitics in Middle East, less than that of India. US has other ways of disturbing India, which it is already doing through tariffs and all, right? Now, United States has said that it has withdrawn the sanction waiver that it earlier granted to Iran's Chabahar port, which was being developed by India, thereby ending the 2018 waiver provided during the first term of the US President Donald Trump. So this is the context. Now let us understand certain background of this issue. Chabahar port is Iran's first deep water port, which is located in Gulf of Oman. And in terms of Pakistan, it is located west of Pakistan's Gwadar port. Gwadar port has been developed by China. And in which location is Gwadar port located in Pakistan? Any idea? Which is the province of Pakistan where Gwadar port is located? Balochistan province, right? And we'll figure out what is Balochistan and what are the problems in Balochistan in today's article itself. Now, India started this development from 2002, which was formalized in 2003 when the Prime Minister of India was Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Now, this took much better formalization in form of a trilateral agreement. India and Iran were already a party to Chabahar port. Now, Afghanistan also became a party to it. It signed a agreement with India and Iran so that the development of Chabahar port would lead to creation of a trade corridor where goods can be directly transported to Afghanistan without having the need to pass through Pakistan. So that is why, to bypass Pakistan, the primary intention of India developing this port is to bypass Pakistan and let its goods flow freely to Afghanistan and ultimately northern, that is through Central Asian republics. Now the location of Gwadar port is here. So you can see it is very close to the location of Chabahar port is here, very near to Gulf of Oman, and it is located just west of Gwadar port. Who is developing Gwadar port? China. Where this Gwadar port is located? Balochistan. So you can understand from sending goods to Kandla, you have two ways. You can send it through Pakistan to Kabul, or you can take a oceanic route through Iran and ultimately to Kabul. So although the distance is longer, but we are able to bypass entirely the Pakistan, right? So this is the original intention of it. Similarly, through Kabul, it can move northwards to Central Asian republics, with which we lack direct connectivity. Now, what you have to realize is the strategic importance of Gwadar port. Now, this port provides alternative trade route to Afghanistan and Central Asian Republic bypassing Pakistan. It strengthens connectivity through what is known as International North-South Corridor. International North-South Transport Corridor is a corridor which links India with Iran, with Caspian Sea, ultimately goes to Russia and Europe. So instead of sending the goods through Suez Canal, etc., we can also send goods to Europe using the Chabahar port. Similarly, it counters China's influence in Gwadar port. Now, there was a possibility that once China develops this Gwadar port, although China prima facie says that this is a commercial port, but there is also a possibility now that the loans that China might have extended to Pakistan, if Pakistan were to default on this loan, then China would take control of this port and deploy its naval ships as well as submarines. So therefore, where India has a presence very near to Gwadar port, it tries to check China's increased influence in the Indian Oceanic region. Similarly, it supports India's regional outreach. What is India's regional outreach? India being a developing economy, it wants to increase its export, and these countries like Central Asian countries, Afghanistan, they are a very big market for us. Similarly, to help these countries develop and reconstruct, we also need direct contact with these countries. So that is why it was more of an India's regional outreach also. So this is what the strategic importance of Chabahar port is for India. Now, what's in it for Iran? That is also a very big question. Why is Iran letting us develop a port after all? First of all, Iran for a longer period of time has been isolated from Western countries due to its nuclear program. And to stop Iran from developing its nuclear program, the Western countries, they have imposed sanctions on Iran, which include sanctions relating to trade as well as payment. So now what Iran is wanting to do, if suppose a developing country or a big country like India develops a port in Iran, don't you think it would reduce Iran's dependency on Western countries? It can allow India to start promote trade to Iran directly and ultimately to Afghanistan and Central Asian Republic. Iran has been a very big market for us. Our agricultural products, our automobiles, they were largely sent in Iran before the sanctions started. So that is why Iran wanted to reduce the isolation, and that is why it was allowing a country like India to develop a port in its very strategic area. Similarly, also, if trade happens through Iran, don't you think Iran would also benefit? It would make commissions on the trade. It can also get cheaper Indian made goods in the market, which would promote consumption in Iranian economy, right? So it would position Iran as a key regional hub for trade. So this is what Iran also wants. What are key regional hubs of trade in Asia? That includes Shanghai, that includes Hong Kong, that includes Singapore. How is Singapore emerged such a big economy? Because of it is a regional hub for trade in that particular Southeast Asian region, right? So similarly, Iran wants to do that also. So that is why it is a win-win situation both for India as well as Iran. Now, what is the progress that India has already made in this Chabahar port? First of all, India invested in a particular terminal in the port. Like in railway stations, haven't you seen there are many platforms? So the best of the platform are the ones from where Vande Bharat and Rajdhani Express would leave or move out, right? Similarly, ports also have different kind of platforms, and these platforms are called as terminals. So one of the biggest terminal in the Chabahar port, Shahid Behishti terminal, was developed by India, and its first phase was inaugurated in 2017, where Indian wheat was sent directly to Afghanistan bypassing China through Chabahar port. Similarly, India expanded the port capacity to 5.8 million tons, and who is the operator of this port? India Ports Global Limited, right? Now, what is the planned capacity of this port? Let us find this out. It has a planned capacity of 82 million tons. And in hindsight, how much capacity has India developed up till now? Only 5.8 million tons. So this would suggest you that our development has been somewhat very less than the potential capacity of this port. So there must have been something that has prevented us from developing this airport. So what is that something? Let us find out. Now, what are the reasons for delays in implementation? Now, one big problem is that with India's projects, not just in Iran, but in every neighboring country. Now, India, being very bureaucratic in nature, is very slow when it comes to execution and implementation of the project. Similarly, when India's projects are being taken up in neighborhood countries like Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and even Iran, they have also witnessed very delays in the progression, slow in its implementation. So this is one big problem that is common with all the neighboring countries' project that India has taken up. Similarly, geopolitical hurdles have also played a very important barrier to the development. This include US-Iran tension. Now, US-Iran, I told you, has been involved in a very tense relationship now, which borders very to a conflict kind of a relationship. And many presidents of United States have called Iran as a harbinger of axis of evil. And to counter Iran's nuclear program, they have imposed sanctions. So first of all, whenever a country is under sanctions, automatically development in that country becomes very difficult for a country who wants to engage with other bigger economies as well, which is India. Similarly, Iran signed a nuclear deal with US and other countries also known as JCPOA. Now, this deal was, or America went out of this deal when Trump came into power in 2018. So this also created a situation where relationship between US and Iran, which cooled down after the implementation of JCPOA, it went back to being very tense. Similarly, US had imposed sanctions on Iran, which created supply and financing challenges, right? Now, there is also Afghanistan factor. Now, what was the original intention of India? To develop a port in Chabahar. That was to supply goods and services directly to Afghanistan. Now, at that time when this proposal was brought, Afghanistan at that time was under democratic rule. But what happened in 2021? A radical Islam organization, Taliban, took over the controls of Afghanistan. So this delayed the implementation that India wanted to happen in case of Chabahar and ultimately to its connectivity with Kabul. Right, so this are the sum total of reasons that have created hurdle. The biggest reason is obviously geopolitical hurdle, but we can't say that 100% of trouble has been created by geopolitics of US and Iran. We are also the reason for the delay. Okay. Now, US waiver and withdrawal. First of all, why did US give us a waiver and then why it took it back? The reason for the waiver of US, which was given in 2018, that India went to US saying that you want to develop Afghanistan or not. They said yes, we want to reconstruct Afghanistan. At that time, US was present in Afghanistan. So India came up with a solution that, see, let us build the Chabahar port, will help you reach or will help you deliver the goods which is made in India and at a cheaper cost bypassing Pakistan. So US liked this idea. So despite sanctions citing Afghanistan reconstruction need, India was able to secure a waiver from United States against this sanction regime. But something changed in 2025. What was this change? How many of you remember that Fordo nuclear facility was bombed directly by United States B-2 bombers? How many of you remember that? Anyone? No problem, Rishi. कल नहीं आए थे ऋषि? Now, any idea why 2025 or what happened in 2025? Any idea? I want you to answer. Few months back, we have already covered this in our sessions. What changed in 2025 between US and Iran? Yes, Natanz, Fordo and another facility, it was bombed directly by US. Earlier it was Israel who was bombing. So when US directly involved in conflict with Iran, it had no other option but to take back the waiver it had given to India. And in Trump's presidency, US has been following a policy based with Iran known as maximum pressure policy. In maximum pressure policy, what US wants to do, it wants to strangle Iran militarily as well as economically. And one of the part of strangling it economically is removing all the waivers that it had given to the sanctions, right? Now, what is the implication of this move on India? Obviously, this implication is negative. Now, the first negative implication is that it hampers India's access to countries like Afghanistan, Central Asian republics, and it also weakens the prospects of international north-south transport corridor, which has seen frequent delays in its implementation. Similarly, it is also a strategic setback for India vis-a-vis controlling or checking the rise of China in the Indian Ocean region vis-a-vis Gwadar Port. Similarly, it complicates India's balancing act. Now, India is a country which is not aligned or non-aligned. So, India is not a country which is ally to United States. US is an ally, Israel is an ally, but India is not an ally of US. India is a friend of US, but at the same time, India is also a friend of Russia, Iran is also a friend of Iran. So any country, don't you think it want to balance its relationship with US and Iran? Same like India. And India was wanting to do that. But now, when this kind of a waiver has been taken back, don't you think it would jeopardize India's act of delicate balancing and managing both of the relationships? Right? And this would compromise India's relationship with Iran. Iran bolega, bhai, kyun chhod ke bhag rahe ho? Right? So this is the negative implication on India. Now, what are the options that India has now that it can take? First is that it can diplomatically lobby with Washington for reconsideration of this decision. This is a normal alternative. Similarly, it can seek greater regional partnerships. It can take help of other countries in the region, Russia, Central Asia, European Union. All of them are stakeholders in the INSTC. So India would go to these countries saying that, dekho, ye wala waiver, it impacts your interest also. So why don't you do something in my case also? Similarly, India can explore alternative connectivity projects. India has set up a different connectivity project with Russia also, where goods have been sent directly from Chennai port in the eastern part of the country to Vladivostok in the eastern part of Russia, in the far east of Russia, right? Similarly, India can undertake several development of alternative routes also. There is also parallel focus on other corridors. India is trying to develop India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, which was announced in G20 summit that happened in India. Now, this initiative also would want to control or connect India through Middle Eastern region, particularly Arab states like UAE, to ultimately Israel as well as Europe. So this is another parallel focus that India is already in mind, that is going to be implementation of this project. But ultimately, India's interest with respect to Afghanistan would be suffering because of the non-working of the Chabahar port. Now, let's see how many of you are able to solve this question. This is basically an easy question. Yes, good, Rishi. Option C is the right answer. Now, this is the question of 2025. Let's see how many of you answer this. धीरज, कितने वर्ड्स में आंसर लिख के भेजा था कल? 6 pages. You know how many pages UPSC gives you to write an answer? 2 pages for a 150 word answer and 3 pages for a 250 word answer. You don't have more pages than that. You can't take a supplementary sheet like in schools and colleges. Yes, option A is the right answer. Now let us move to this article. US, UK and France have put hold on Pakistan's bid to designate Baloch group as terrorist. So what is important from this article? Any idea? What is important in this article? What is important? Tell me quickly. What is this 1267 sanction committee? What is hold in listing, and on a broader level, geopolitics associated with Balochistan. This is important from our exams perspective. Now let us understand the context. Now a joint Pakistan-China bid to list Balochistan Liberation Army and Majid Brigade under the UN 1267 sanctions regime has been blocked by United States, France and UK, who have cited insufficient evidences to link two Baloch groups to Al-Qaeda and ISIL, and they have decided to put a 6 months hold under technical grounds. So this is the context of our today's discussion. I told you, Dheeraj, right now, how many pages UPSC gives you. Now, what is the United Nations terror sanctions regime? Yeah, United Nations Security Council in 1999 came up with a resolution known as 1267 resolution, which designated Osama bin Laden and his associates as terrorists, and they established a sanctions regime which would target the individuals and organizations who are associated with Al-Qaeda, bin Laden or Taliban. Now, according to the committee rules, this decision would only be taken place where all the members they agree to listing, which means the decision is taken by consensus. Otherwise, decision can also be taken by majority, but in this case, decision is only taken when all the members agree. Even if one member cites a disapproval or does not agree to inclusion, then the inclusion won't happen, right? So theoretically, even one country can deny you in including any organization as a terrorist activity. Now, why was Osama bin Laden or Al-Qaeda or Taliban listed in this sanctions regime in the first place? Now, this happened after Afghanistan was being taken over by Taliban, and when Taliban took power in Afghanistan, they provided safe refuge to global terrorists including Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. And Osama bin Laden, even before 9/11 of 2001, was responsible in conducting terrorist attack on US interest. It conducted a terrorist attack in 1993 in the basement of World Trade Center. It conducted a terrorist attack on the US embassies in Kenya and Dar es Salaam and Tanzania, which killed as many as 224 individuals and left as many as 4,000 dead. So even before 9/11, Osama bin Laden was responsible for terrorist activities which harmed US interests. So US, and in addition to its allies, decided to put certain kind of sanctions on these people who have been involved in terrorist activities. Now, what does this sanction do? Let us find out. Now, this committee which was, or this resolution which was established by United Nations Security Council Committee, it designates certain individual and entities in the sanction list. And this committee also implements this sanction. So what are these sanctions? Their assets all over the world will be frozen so that they are not able to transact in their assets. Similarly, there will be a legal travel ban on them, so they can't move across the border formally. Similarly, there will be an arms embargo. So suppose these organizations go to a reputed company to buy arms and ammunition, those reputed companies won't be able to sell them arms and ammunition. So this is the limitations that the committee can impose on anyone who has been responsible and proven to be responsible for terrorist activities. Okay. Now, while initially this regime was brought to corner terrorists who were involved with Al-Qaeda and Taliban, but eventually the sanctions regime expanded to also include Islamic State. I told you another name of Islamic State was ISIL. Right, and this was done through resolution 2253. Now, as per the 2024 annual report, as of today, 255 individuals and 89 organizations are there on this sanctions list. Okay, this number, although not important. What is important, that this was originally done for Al-Qaeda and Taliban, but later on even ISIL terrorists and all the terrorists who are there in Pakistan also, LT, Jaish-e-Mohammed, they have also been there. Similarly, India got in 2019 even Masood Azhar as an individual enlisted in the terrorists. Any idea why even Masood Azhar as an individual was enlisted as terrorist when Jaish-e-Mohammed is already there in the list? Any idea? Any idea why did India get Masood Azhar registered as an individual in the terrorist? Why? Anyone? Baga, Rishi, Kanchan, Santana. I've realized our interactions have reduced a lot. Well, hijack was done by Jaish-e-Mohammed, right? At that time, Masood Azhar was in jail in India. What happens with terrorists now? Once you ban one of their organization, they'll start a new organization and conduct terrorist activities under that organization. So instead of banning each and every organization, if we just ban the individual, don't you think this is the better way to do that? एक स्टार्टअप फेल होता है तो लोग क्या करते हैं, दूसरा स्टार्टअप स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं. सो व्हेन अ स्टार्टअप ऑफ टेररिस्ट, दैट इज टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन फेल्स, दे स्टार्ट अ न्यू स्टार्टअप. Okay. Now, where is Balochistan located? This is also a very important thing you have to understand. Now, Balochistan is located westward of the province of Sindh, and it borders currently the country of Afghanistan to its north and Iran to its west. So, this is the biggest province in terms of area of Pakistan. It amounts to approximately 44% of total geographical area of Pakistan. Right. So, Balochistan is largest province of Pakistan, roughly occupying 44% of the territory. While its location and presence of natural resources are very important for Pakistan on one hand, but this is also very having certain problematic conditions. First of all, the territory of Balochistan is very rugged, so naturally the population density in the region is very less. Also, this region in terms of economic development is even impoverished as compared to other provinces of China and other provinces of Pakistan. Now, I am talking about development in Pakistani province, which is already very less. But now, put things in perspective, Balochistan is even lesser developed as compared to Sindh, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as well as Punjab, right? So, this is the reason why even in Pakistani terms, Balochistan is lesser developed. And this has created a sense of radicalization, sense of demand of separatism in the local people of Balochistan. Now, since 1948, what happened that earlier, whenever India was being partitioned into two countries, that is India and Pakistan, what happened that these Balochi people, they actually wanted to join India, but they did not have actual border with what is India today. So, what happened that they were forced, or the individual chiefdoms or the individual feudal lords in Balochistan, they were forced to become a part of Pakistan. So, they already have a grievances that they did not wanted to join Pakistan, but they were forced to do so. Similarly, this province has witnessed a series of insurgencies, and because the Pakistani state, particularly its army, has created or suppressed all of these insurgencies brutally, it has created a sense of isolation, created a sense of grievance in the minds of Balochi people, and this has resulted into enduring or continuous Balochi national movement, which wants complete independence from Pakistan or Purn Swaraj from Pakistan. Understood? So, this is their original intention. They want to make Balochistan a separate country. Now, till date, there have been 5 Balochistani War of Independence, and the latest one has been started from 2005 and 6. Now, Pakistan state has a series of brutally, and it has a habit of brutally dealing with these insurgencies. Now, what you'll have to remember, if there is any problem in a, say, mature, decent and a democratic regime, if a section of people or if any region has a problem in a mature, decent and democratic regime, what this regime would do, it would talk to the people. It would try to understand their problems. It would try to understand their grievances. And then it will try to address all of their problems in the constitutional scheme of things. So, this is how a mature, decent, cultured and democratic country like India would handle any of the problems that happens in a multi-ethnic country. It is very common. But is Pakistan any of that? No. What is Pakistan? It is immature, it is indecent, and it is autocratic. Right? So all of this is Pakistan. So what Pakistan tries to do? It tries to commit violence. It tries to brutally suppress this legible demands. And because of this brutal suppression, the cause of concern or the fundamental cause of concern is not addressed. And this creates a sense of negative feeling that these people have towards the state of Pakistan, right? So this is what is happening in Pakistan. Now there has been numerous reports of abduction, torture of Balochistan people, arbitrary arrest, and even executions which has been leveled on the army and defense forces of Pakistan. Now it is very hard to determine how many people were abducted and killed, because Pakistan again is not a very cultured country, but it has been estimated that tens of thousands of people have been killed just because of the state repression by Pakistan. So this is how Pakistan has not tackled this issue democratically. It has tried to tackle this issue through iron hand, and whenever you try to force people, they become very rigid and they would not cede away their grievances, or they will not cede away their positions. Now at the heart of this persistent problem is the deep economic and ethnic wedge that Balochistani people feel towards the other regions of Pakistan. Now what has been a Pakistan's persistent problem? That Pakistan is a multi-ethnic country like India, but there is one region that is dominating over the other regions. That is the Punjabi speaking population. Now first of all, you have to understand the irony. The state language of Pakistan is not Punjabi, it's Urdu. But most of the Punjabi people, they speak Urdu in very heavily accented Punjabi, Jarnail, right? So this kind of a thing. So what happens when a multi-ethnic country comes to be dominated by only a section of people? It creates a sense of isolation. It creates a sense of divide, and this is what is happening with each and every province with Pakistan, and this has taken an extreme form in the region of Balochistan. Now Balochistani nationalists have long argued that Balochistani people, they themselves should harness or enjoy the fruits of resources that is there in Balochistan. And such anger when these resources are cornered by a section of Punjabi dominated people, this has created a sense of anger, and these anger have not been addressed democratically. So what these people have done, they have conducted targeted attacks against state institutions. So how many of you have heard that frequently Pakistani soldiers are being killed by Balochistan people, right? Because of this region only. No, Baloch are not nomadic. Balochistani people are very similar to Afghani and Pathans. They are people who are living in a very treacherous terrain, but they are not nomadic. Now, there was this organization, Balochistani Liberation Army, which is a Baloch ethno-nationalist group that has emerged in early 2000s, which has a stated aim of securing complete independence of Balochistan from Pakistan. Now, you need to understand, in early 2000s, the entire politics of Balochistan took a U-turn. Now, whenever there is a sense of grievances, you will have to understand, first of all, the kind of leaders or the kind of organizations that emerge, these are moderate organizations. And what do moderate organizations and moderate leaders want? They want a middle path. That yes, Pakistan has some concerns, and yes, Balochistan has some concerns. So moderate in Balochistan would want the best for both of the parties to the negotiation, right? And this was also the case with Balochistan. There were several people, including Nawab Akbar Khan Bukti, who is a very influential figure in the Balochistani politics. He wanted some kind of an arrangement where Balochistan would continue to be a part of Pakistan, but would get certain kind of autonomy over its control, right? So this is what happened. But a military operation was conducted by Pakistani army when General Pervez Musharraf was the dictator of Pakistan, and it led to death and killing of Nawab Akbar Khan Bukti. Now this polarized the politics of Balochistan. So whatever moderates had, they threw away their belongings and they threw away their ideology, and they became very radical. They became very extreme in their approach towards politics. So now when you understand, when a moderate leader was wanting best or win-win for both of the parties, and if he or she is killed, don't you think people would drop their moderate ideology and become more extreme and more radical in their approach? And this exactly happened with Balochistan. Now, most of the organizations that have become popular after the death of Bukti, they have become very radical, and one of them is Balochistan Liberation Army. So, his death effectively obliterated any hope of reconciliation between Balochistan nationalists and the Pakistani state, and it turned even moderates towards insurgency and led to a complete breakdown of legitimacy of mainstream Baloch parties. So whichever political outfit emerged after this event, they were radical and militant outfits, and they did not pursue middle ground. Rather, they wanting this nationalist movement to be committed to get what is known as complete independence from Pakistan, right? And they dropped the ideas of seeking what is kind of provincial autonomy. Okay. Now, what is Majid Brigade? Majid Brigade is a Fedayeen unit or a suicide squad of the BLA, and it is named after a person who died after attempting to assassinate the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. He is the one who made a statement that will eat grass but will make nuclear weapons. He was also the father of the Prime Minister of Pakistan afterwards, Benazir Bhutto, right? And this organization, Majid Brigade, has been active since 2010 and is involved in various high-profile attacks, including the 2024 attack on Gadar Port and the Jafar Express hijacking, which happened this year in March, right? So these are the people responsible, or they are in news. Now, what is the Pakistan side's argument in getting them listed in the 1267 sanction committee? Pakistani government for long has claimed that this BLA, it operates from across the border, that is from Afghanistan, and they are operating just because they are getting help from IS and the Tehreek-e-Taliban, which is the Pakistani outfit of Taliban or the Pakistani franchisee of Taliban. Now, based on this claim, the Pakistani government has asked the council to swiftly add BLA and Majid Brigade to its sanction list. So this is the Pakistan's argument. Now, what actually happened, that countries like US, France and UK, they've objected to this proposal by Pakistan and sought a technical hold on certain issues. What is this technical hold? Now, what you have to understand, under the committee rules, a decision of listing any party in this sanction list would only be made if all the members agree to it. And even if one member raises an objection, this listing won't happen. And now these countries have said that they require more time to consider this proposal. First of all, the evidences that has been given by Pakistan is not sufficient. So any country who is objecting to this listing can put a technical or a substantive hold. These countries, they have put a technical hold. Why a technical hold? Because these countries have objected that Pakistan has not provided sufficient evidence which would link BLA and Majid Brigade to the organizations, that is ISIL as well as Tehreek-e-Taliban. Okay, and these Tehreek-e-Taliban and ISIL, their relation has to be proved before these organizations can be listed on the 1267 sanctions committee. Okay. Now, why such an irony? If you remember, India, it took a long time for India to get Masood Azhar to be listed as a terrorist in the 1267 sanction committee. And why this was delayed? Because China used to delay or block India's attempt to get Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Masood Azhar listed as a terrorist activity. Now, this matter will once again come back to committee 6 months later. So, basically, the chickens that Pakistan and China had sent, now they have come to roost in their own house, right? So, this is why it is such an irony. Now, let's see how many of you are able to solve this question. Yes, all of you are right. Option D is the right answer. Now this question. From Monday, Benzir, 2 p.m. So from Monday onwards, new timing of this session would be 2 p.m. Monday means 22nd September. Option B, yes. Now upgrading army radar is the next article. Now after Operation Sindoor, hundreds of Pakistani UAVs, or during Operation Sindoor, they breached Indian airspace, and India's army, realizing this vulnerability, has initiated upgrade to its air defense network alongside the north and western borders. So this is why the army is updating its radar. First of all, what is a radar? Radar is an electronic system that uses radio waves to detect, locate and track objects by transmitting signals, analyzing the echoes, and this echo would help the radar system locate and track each and every flying object. Now, this radar system includes a transmitter. Transmitter actually sends out the radio signals in the surrounding space. Then it also has a receiver which receives the reflected signals or the echo signals back. And then there is a processor or display unit which would process this signal and display you the exact location of the flying object. So this is what basically a radar is. Now, how radar functions? Radar basically finds the angle of the target, which direction it is coming from. It finds out what is the distance where the target is currently located, and then it also calculates with which speed it is moving towards you, right? So understanding angle, range and speed, it is able to scrutinize, or it is able to triangulate the exact location, and by monitoring reflections over time, radar can predict the path that the flying object might take. And this is very essential if you are tracking enemy aircrafts and missiles, right? So you understand how radar works now. Now defense forces uses two kinds of radars. First is a surveillance radar. As the name suggests, it is providing, or it is scanning the skies continuously so as to provide you the amount of objects that are flying in your airspace. So in case a foreign object or an unregistered object comes, you definitely know. Now what it provides, it provides a situational awareness to the armed forces, but this radar system are not directly connected to the weapons, right? So this is providing you basically the map of what is happening in your airspace. Then there comes fire control radars. These kind of fire control radars are attached to aircrafts as well as missiles. The purpose of these kind of radars is to work closely with weapons as well as help them lock to the target and guide these weapon systems to destroy their target. So the beacon or the radar systems there in your missiles are an example of fire control radar. Understood the two kinds of radar that the military forces or the air defenses use? These are the two kinds of radars. Now, IAF, Indian Air Force, operates high and medium power radars, which enables it to track large flying objects like aircrafts, AWACS, jets, etc. Right? So these are primarily directed to tackle planes of the other enemies. Similarly, Army and IAF, they operate some low-level lightweight radars for low-flying objects, but the density of these low-level lightweight aircrafts or radars have been less. Why? Traditionally, all the countries that are present, they were relying on bigger aircrafts, that is fighter aircrafts as well as AWACS. Now, most of the countries are relying even more on drones. So you need more density of these low powered, low range objects, right? So this is what is required right now. Now, IAF has a fire control radar, which includes Rajendra radar, and Army has a flycatcher and upgraded Super Fledmas radar, which helps it track these kind of objects. Now, what is India's air defense infrastructure? Now, India's air defense structure has a suite of different kind of weapon systems. First, it has weapon system, that is air defense guns, Akash missile system, Russian S-400 missile systems. Similarly, it has command and control system. Command and control system are basically brains of the air defense system, where all the data is input or coming is an input, then this gives out a order or a command to the weapon system which would fire the target, right? Similarly, army has an Akash Tir system, which is a real-time integrated air defense picture. It provides a real-time picture to how the air defense system is. Similarly, IAF has IAACS, that is integrated air command control system for detecting and intercepting intruder aircrafts. During Operation Sindhu, despite drone breaches, Indian air defense system was able to prevent major damages. Now, there is also an upcoming development, that is Mission Sudarshan Chakra, which was announced by Prime Minister Modi this year in Red Fort on 15th of August. He said that this would provide a comprehensive air defense shield, which is under currently development. Similarly, DRDO, it recently tested an integrated air defense weapon system, which is completely indigenous in nature, right? So, India is trying to make more indigenous weapons, and it is also trying to focus more on radars which are able to track and detect smaller flying objects like drones, okay? Because it is the need of the hour. So why are we upgrading it? First of all, the army's radar are aging. You also need to tackle new age aerial threats like swarms, drones, UAVs, RCS drones, and these tactics were increased use by Hamas on Israel. So existing air defense system can be overwhelmed or blindsided by these radar systems, or their capacities would be lesser than what is required. So we are increasing the capacity also. Okay. So this is why we are upgrading. And what our new procurements look like? This is low level radar which can relay target data to up to 10 kilometers away. Similarly, air defense fire control radar drone detector system would be able to detect, classify, identify and guide weapons to destruct smallest of drones. And low level lightweight radar enhances friend or foe identification in a cluttered airspace. So suppose to tackle drones, you can also use drones, but we also need to know now which drone is ours and which drone is theirs. So this would able to identify our drone and separate enemy drones from us. So this is what new procurement capabilities would look like. Now solve this question. Okay, I will take ginger tea. Thank you, Santana. Well, I have tea daily, but I haven't had tea since yesterday. Well, an air defense system, including S-400, not just has missiles, it has many different components. It has radars, it has command and control systems, or known as CCS, then it has missile launchers. What radars do is identify the foreign objects. Then it gives this picture to command and control center. Then command and control center analyzes which kind of flying object is coming towards us, and then it gives an order to missile launcher to send the missile accordingly. So suppose there's a big aircraft coming, don't you think we'd need a big missile? Or if suppose there is a chotu drone coming, don't you think we'd fire it a very big missile to tackle it? No, it does not make sense, right? So this is kind of a system that is there on every air defense system, including S-400. So the kind of missile system that you saw behind Prime Minister Modi, right, when he visited that air base in Udhampur, that was a launcher of S-400, okay? Those big tube-like structures. Now this is EU overture. This is a big article. So why don't we cover it on Monday? There is also another small article that I want to cover. Let me tackle that first. Global Innovation Index of 2025. I was surprised this did not appear in the Indian Express newspaper, but it was there on the website. So let us cover this. The World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, has released Global Innovation Index of 2025. Now, normally the questions that appear in prelims are that they will ask you a question, who publishes Global Innovation Index? Whenever there is an innovation, most of the time, the answer would be World Intellectual Property Organization. How you protect your innovation? Through intellectual property. So this is the organization mostly who brings World Intellectual Property Organization. Now I'll suggest you a way how to remember these. Right now, just read about it and forget. Now, before prelims, on various Telegram groups, there are many compilation that comes of important reports and indexes, and which are the bodies who are publishing it. So, go through that index in the last 1 week of your prelims examination or 1 week before the prelims examination. You will realize that there are many lists. So, what you do in case if you don't have a compiled list World Bank, and list down the important reports and indexes published by World Bank. Then list IMF, then list out important index. So you have to remember each and every or important ones at least brought by World Bank, brought by IMF, World by WIPO, World by WEF. These kind of organizations, their reports are important. So just read about it right now and forget it, because if you read it right now, obviously you'll forget it by the end of the May when the exams are going to happen. So what you have to do, just remember it and do this or compile this list and revise it only in the last week, right? Because it is something that you'll be able to forget it easily. Okay. Well, I feel very sleepy when I have cough syrup, so that is why I avoid cough syrup. It is also very sweet. I hate that sweetness. I don't know why they make it so sweet. इतना चीनी क्यों डाला? मुझे मिठाई खा लेना था ना, चीनी से चाहिए था तो. Sorry for that joke. Okay. Now let us find out what this innovation index is basically talking about. It has said that globally the trend of research and development is on decline. Any idea why research and development trend is on decline? Because global economic growth is on decline. When does research and development happens? Whenever the potential of economic growth is high. So this is directly linked to global economic growth. Also, in last few years, there has been a technological shift. Despite slowdown, rapid advancement have been made in AI technology, quantum computing and innovation clusters. They are driving the global competitiveness. Now, top global performers. Now, who's the first one on the list? Switzerland, followed by Sweden. Third is United States. And these are the countries who are strong in high-tech R&D and innovation ecosystems. Then comes Republic of Korea. Any idea it is North Korea or South Korea? कौन सा कोरिया है ये? Acha, there is a sugar-free cough syrup also. Why don't you think it can be North Korea? Don't you think under the supreme leader Kim Jong-un, North Korea is flourishing? You know what is the official name of Xi Jinping wala China? Official name of Xi Jinping wala China is called as People's Republic of China. The official name of Taiwan, you know what is the official name of Taiwan? It is Republic of China. The official name of South Korea is Republic of Korea. The official name of North Korea is Democratic People's Republic of Korea. What an oxymoron this is. Any idea what is an oxymoron meaning? Any idea what is an oxymoron? Oxymoron is two words which have different meaning, like veg biryani, oxymoron. Veg is pulao, biryani is non-veg. Similarly, honest politician, oxymoron. Democratic People's Republic of Korea or Democratic North Korea, oxymoron. Got it? Now, Singapore is 5th, China has been a new entrant in 10, and it has been ranked 2nd in global R&D expenditure, and it is a world leader in filing of patents. Now, where is India located in this ranking? India's performance is 38th It is regional leader in Central and South Asia, and it is also an income group leader, that is leader in the lower middle income countries. What is India's strength? Knowledge and technology output and market sophistication. But India also lags behind in certain aspects: business sophistication, infrastructure, institution. Don't have to remember these factors. Just remember where is India placed, who are the top 5 countries, who is the newest entrant, and who brings this one out, WIPO. This is all you need to know from this discussion, okay? Now, this is a kind of question that you can expect in the exam. Well, where is R&D happening? Who is performing the R&D? That does not matter. Where the R&D is happening. If R&D is happening in India, even in companies like Samsung, that would benefit Indian economy. But if R&D is happening in, say, US, taken by Indians, but in an American company, that would benefit US. Option B is your right answer. Yes. Now, the notes of this will be available on the channel ATS Live. So, we'll see each other on Monday at new time, that is 2 p.m. every day. Okay? You'll remember it? So, everyone, have a good weekend.